Hi there, welcome back to the College Down Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Roth. Along with me is Derek DeBurger,
Hello.
the podcast that talks everything college sports. Today, in recent news, literally just dropped 3 hours ago, we have the new top 25 AP polls just came out. What are your first impressions of them?
I mean, it's pretty similar to ours. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that Alabama is 4. That might be the biggest takeaway.
I think I had them 3 in my personal one. I know for a fact we had them 3 combined together.
Well, no, combined we had them 2.
We did?
Yes, because I put him number 1.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see.
I gave him a number 1 vote.
Right.
I'm confident in Alabama. I'm not that surprised that Alabama's, I guess, 4. My surprise is that the team above them is Ohio State. I just don't. I mean, I know they're going to have a ton of receivers. You know, they're going to have a ton of talent offensively. They're going to have a ton of talent on defense, too.
Right.
It's just they have a new quarterback.
Yeah.
And so does Alabama. But if you're going to put a team above Alabama, it's a, you know, I don't know why it wouldn't be like an LSU or a USC, where they're bringing back the same quarterback, bringing back the same coach. I don't know. I just think it's interesting that Ohio State is above Alabama.
I will say, if we're talking about the quarterback position, a lot of question marks because we still don't know who's Alabama's starting quarterback is week 1 yet.
No.
We think it's going to be Jalen Milroe, but we're not sure.
I think it's going to be Buckner.
You think it's Buckner's going to take it?
Tyler Buckner.
I mean, it's the point exactly. Me and you think it's going to be 2 different starting quarterbacks, whereas at least we know it's Kyle McCord. Or am I saying this correctly? Yeah, Kyle McCord is going to be a starting quarterback for Ohio State this year.
Well, actually, that's a battle, too.
Really?
I think it's between Kyle McCord and Devin Brown.
Okay.
So that one's up in the air, too. I think technically Georgia is a quarterback battle, but that's going to be Carson Beck.
Yeah.
I think no one even entertains the idea of someone else being the quarterback.
Yeah.
But
are we surprised by the fact that mostly all the votes went to Georgia?
No, I mean, they've been dominant for 2 years. And then
any surprises that you see from the top 25, in your opinion?
I'm a little shocked that Oklahoma and Wisconsin are ranked. I'm not as shocked with Wisconsin. You know, they ended up they salvaged their year last year.
Right.
And I think they have talent still.
Got a really good coach.
Yeah. And they're
good coach.
Yeah, probably upgraded in coach.
Oh, I think Luke Fickell, I think that's how you say his name.
Yes.
He is he's definitely a top 10 coach in my opinion.
He's very good, yeah.
Was tremendous at Cincinnati. Had a non-conference program make the playoff. I think he's the only coach that ever do that.
Yeah.
Which is unheard of.
Well, I mean, it's only been around for 10 years.
It's just very rare to see. You basically have to be perfect to make it as a non-conference.
Yeah.
And then
I just think I'm more shocked that Wisconsin and Oklahoma made it, because I'm not as high on Oklahoma. I don't know. We'll see about Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's one of those teams where they have talent, they have recruits coming in, they have the pedigree and all that stuff to be a decent program. It's just last year it was not there at all. So,
yeah, that was pretty bad.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's see.
Did you see the others receiving votes?
Michigan and Ohio State.
Well, I mean, yeah. They receive votes for number 1, but
you're
just outside of the top 25.
Yeah, we had Texas Tech with 101, South Carolina with 73, UCLA with 66, UTSA, who we had ranked in ours.
Yeah, and we had South Carolina ranked.
Yeah, we had South Carolina ranked still.
I had Texas Tech and South Carolina ranked.
I had South Carolina as my 26. So I'm right there with the voters on having them just outside. A little bit surprised to see Boise State getting some votes over other teams like Pittsburgh and Kentucky. More votes.
It's probably just because they have an easy schedule, and they're, it's like Boise State's usually pretty good.
Right.
Like they do have a proud history, even if they're not, a power team.
Right.
But I don't know. Boise State's been kind of down for a little bit. Ever since Chris Peterson left, they're not the same Boise State.
All right. Out of these rankings, who would you say is the most overranked and underranked in your opinion? Who's too high and who's too low?
I think too low, I'm going to say Utah.
Utah?
I really like Utah.
14's too low for them?
I think in my rankings, I'm pretty sure I had Utah top 10.
Yeah, we have them 12 on ours.
Yeah.
So,
And Penn State, I would say, is too high. I don't know. I don't know about Penn State.
Penn State 7. We had them 9.
Well, yeah, that was like a collective, though.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But I don't know. I like the coaches poll more than I like the AP poll, honestly.
Really?
Normally, I don't. Normally, I think the coaches poll sucks. Because,
But
if you're a coach, why would you not just like rank all the teams that you play?
Right, to better increase your chances and strength of schedule.
Yeah, and then, rank yourself.
But they also have Oklahoma ranked. Do they have Wisconsin ranked in the coaches poll?
They do have Wisconsin ranked, yeah.
Yeah.
They've also got Texas Tech and no Iowa. I'm not.
I had Iowa ranked and you didn't, and so that's one of the differences that we have there. Is that I personally think Iowa's got a great defense and.
Oh, I don't.
And they can't figure out how to throw the ball, but hey.
Yeah, their defense is incredible. They have the same offensive coordinator, which a guy who did not get the job based on merit, Kirk Ferentz's son. I'm calling that now. I'm calling my shot.
Are you?
Yeah, real hot take. And then also they got Cade McNamara, which I was never impressed with him at Michigan.
Right.
So it's like, sure, you're getting a quarterback from a school it's been to the playoff the last 2 years. So I don't think it matters. I don't think Cade McNamara is that good.
Gotcha. We had Wisconsin ranked.
We did, but I think that's because you had them much higher than I did.
Huh.
If I were to like keep going in my rankings, they're probably somewhere in the later 20s.
Right.
They're probably hovering around like 28 or something like that.
25 in front of yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. I definitely think if they don't get off to too rocky a start, if Fickle is clearly the guy,
right?
Because there's a lot of guys that there's a lot of coaches that just like capture lightning in a bottle at a smaller school,
and they can't do it in a bigger program.
Yeah, just whether it be like the pressure or them going to a different like recruiting pool, which it's pretty similar like recruiting.
Now it is, but back in the day it was different, I would say.
There's still some differences,
Oh, absolutely, but
like there's advantages if you are going from coaching like Minnesota and then you get a job at South Carolina. That's easier.
Right.
That's way easier. It's in the South. You're already like next to each other. Well, next to all the good players.
But when you argue that you are now competing, because like there is something to be said about a kid growing up and idolizing a certain program and then wanting to play for that program, being a fan. There's part of that.
Yeah.
But it's rarer now, I would say. But also I would say like when it comes to like the South at least, it's like if you're a known player, everyone knows about you and you're going to get offered to go play some good football. Same thing in the Midwest. But I mean like if you're in like Colorado or Utah, like you're going to get offers if you're good regardless, right? But it's not going to be to the extent of like if you're in Georgia, if you're in South Carolina, I would say. You know what I mean?
Maybe, yeah. I get it. I get what you're saying.
It's like if you were to play in Maine or like wherever that's not football country, we'll put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean there's something to said for like
because Midwest loves their football, South loves their football, Texas loves their football. Outside of that, it's like football's kind of second, third sport sometimes.
Well, yeah. I guess. So I mean, there's some places where it's like football is like second, not to another sport, just to like doing other stuff.
Right.
Like I think California.
Yeah.
It's like sports are not like the number one thing on people's minds. Right. It's a huge state. There's a lot of good players that come from California.
Absolutely.
But
it's also a big state, big population.
Yeah, I just think that I don't know. Even if like the UCF, like when Scott Frost went on his run at UCF, I think that it's a little easier to do something like that at a UCF than it is at Temple. Just because.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, because like if you're just like picking up the scraps from all the SEC teams that don't want players, it's like you're getting the like third or fourth option. That's still a really good team you're putting together.
Yeah.
Versus like a San Diego State. If you're getting like the third or fourth options from USC, Oregon, Arizona, yeah,
State, or Stanford.
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. Stanford back in the day was a decent program. Now it's kind of fallen off.
Yeah, but I just think there's more depth as far as recruiting pool in the South than there is in California.
Oh, absolutely.
But no, I'm saying all that to say, if Luke Fickell ends up being the right guy for the job, which I think there's a good chance that he is, I could absolutely see Wisconsin being ranked very quickly.
Oh, yeah. Well, they are. Week 0.
In my own poll, that is. They're ranked now. But well, you want to talk about expansion? Realignment?
Same old story. Expansion. What's new? What do we got to talk about? So, what's new in this week of the expansion of the... I'm kind of already tired of talking about this at this point.
Yeah, we talked about this for a month.
Dude, it's been like, where's this team going? What does this mean? How's this going to happen? Sum it up short, basically. We're down to 4 teams in the Pac-12 still. Or the Pac-4, however you want to joke about it or whatever it's named. Stanford in California tried to join the ACC last week. It got denied. They needed 75% of the vote to get through, with 4 teams still holding out and not accepting the vote to allow them in. Is that correct?
They got to 11 votes.
Yeah.
Out of 15.
Yeah, they were 4 short, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the 4 schools that held out were Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, and North Carolina State. Florida State came out and said that they would accept the bid if Notre Dame joined, and so they stuck to their word and said no, because obviously Notre Dame has a sweet deal with NBC at the moment. Yeah,
through I think 2026 maybe.
Yeah, and so Notre Dame has no desire to do anything along those lines to join the ACC. SMU also wants to join the ACC, and they would join for $0. I think that's kind of funny.
That's hilarious.
It is, because it just goes to show how much money I think the boosters have down there. 1.
Oh, yeah.
And then 2, that the fact that for 5 to 7 years you could just have your program be ran off of boosters and donors is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's so sad on SMU's part.
Because they went out so badly.
Well, they want to just so badly be like, we're a power team.
We're back, baby. It's like the 80s again, when we actually were paying players, but now it's allowed.
Yeah, but it's like, it's so... Well, the thing is, they're trying to, like, jump on to... They're trying to do whatever. I think probably their preferred destination is the ACC right now, because they know that it's pretty ironclad. They're like, we don't care. We'll sign away our grant rights in a heartbeat just to get into a power conference.
How much is a check? We'll just sign it. We'll do it.
And
Who's
then
the sugar daddy for SMU is what I want to know.
They've got a couple like oil billionaires.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah. But also they're like, it's been pretty. There's been reports out there that like their backup is joining the Pac-12, or whatever's left of it. And it's like, well, that's not a. If you do that, it's not a power conference. You can't just claim it. Be like, we're Power 5, baby.
So I actually learned more about the Pac-12 situation. They could lose their. They have 2 months to have a conference, and then they have 2 years after probation to lose their title as a Power 5 conference. So, like, not Power 5 conference. I think I got that backwards, because it's 2 months till they could lose their Power 5, and it's 2 years till if they don't have enough teams, then it's not a conference anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Could be a probation for 2 years. But they have 2 months to salvage it to... It won't be a power conference anymore. It's gone. And I didn't realize that the NCAA gave those titles. I didn't realize that.
I didn't either.
Yeah. Till just recently. What else is there to talk about? Oh, with the ACC and Stanford and Cal trying to join, basically, Notre Dame was very vocal about wanting this to happen.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense.
Their AD basically came out quoted saying the notion that 2 of the very best academic institutions in the world who also played Division I sports could be abandoned in the latest chapter of realignment is an indictment of college athletics.
But that's what Notre Dame is. They're one of the best academic schools that it doesn't have a conference in football. They choose to not have a conference in football. They don't care. Right. That they're saying that to posture. I think.
Oh yeah.
The reason that Notre Dame wants to be in is
It helps all their other sports.
well, yeah, they're in the ACC and everything else, and Stanford's a rival.
Right.
It just makes it more convenient. And on top of that, these are athletic conferences, but they do like work together academically. And so if you have two schools like Stanford and Cal, who are very good academic schools,
Extremely good.
yes, that's extremely beneficial to your university.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it makes total sense that Notre Dame would want to add them so desperately. Apparently, I don't know where you found this. Apparently, the other schools that are like really pushing for it are Louisville, Pittsburgh, and Georgia Tech.
They were the most vocal in the meetings.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't find that.
Oh, no problem. I can pull it up for you. So it was on.
It does make sense for all those schools, though.
Basically, Louisville and Notre Dame were the most vocal in the meetings. Those are the reports that are basically coming out from it. And looking at it makes sense. The four teams are basically saying no. Other than
NC State.
maybe.
Why are they saying no?
That's a great question.
I think they think that they're higher profile than they actually are.
Yeah. But
Like,
I mean, like
NC State, who's clamoring for like get NC State in the SEC now? Nobody. They're like they're so far down the pecking order just because they were one of the 7 schools that was like trying to get out real bad,
Were they like
and just
that-
because they're like voting no to Stanford and Cal.
Were they that one kid basically where it's like you make plans and because they're there while you're making plans you invite them as well? You know,
Kind of, yeah.
Whereas rather than like you you know,
I think it's more like they're one of the people that's like part of your friend group, but no one really likes them.
yeah,
But they're just there,
a lot.
and so it's like
they're like
they're part, like they're in the group chats. You know, like
They're in
we're not
the-
gonna, no one's gonna kick them out.
right, they're in the group chats. They could be like they're like North Carolina's little brother who's just always around. But it's like close enough
Yeah.
in age to where he hangs out with y'all.
Yeah, like they're NC State's like our biggest rival is UNC, and UNC does not care about them
Absolutely.
at all.
Right.
And like academically, it makes sense for literally every single one of these
I
schools
mean-
to add Stanford and Cal.
I think it comes with the territory of putting state on your name. It's like the same as Michigan State. In Michigan.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying, but
Michigan's let me put it this way.
Florida State,
Yeah.
they're a good school.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't make any sense for NC State, like,
To say no.
because the reason I
What's
think
the angle?
Louisville and Pittsburgh would be so inclined to add them is because I'm sure if you're Louisville or Pittsburgh, you think like, okay, if we can like get on a run, particularly in football, but you know, in athletics as a whole, but especially in football, we can like get on a run, like string together several seasons where we're really good. We're gonna be an attractive team,
Yeah.
for the Big Ten or the SEC or backup, even the Big 12. You know, and so adding Stanford and Cal just kind of like prolongs the inevitable. For the ACC, it looks like it's in better health than it is, and so it might keep it around a little bit longer. Or let's say Clemson, Florida State leave, then you know, like there's at least 2 more teams to balance it out. Like you've already preemptively added a couple of teams.
Right. Just in case people leave.
Yeah, and so it's still going to be a conference that's you have to pay somewhat attention to.
Right. I suppose so.
And so it like prolongs the life of like it potentially extends the window for like how quickly you need to get good at football to become desirable for these other conferences.
I suppose
It
so.
makes sense for them.
I
And
mean-
I don't know why NC State's not thinking about it like that. Because they're not desirable.
I just look at it from the perspective of like outside of Notre Dame and the people and the schools that were most vocal, there is a certain level of uncertainty for every single school besides Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, and I'll even throw in Duke in there. But like there is a certain level of uncertainty of like if Clemson or Florida State leave the ACC, they're gonna get picked up eventually. Same with North Carolina and Duke. Those universities just don't leave something without getting picked up somewhere. I don't see it. Now, maybe like Virginia turns into like a UConn, if you will, keeps a good basketball program and has a crappy football program. I could see something along.
Well, I think
those
that's going to
lines.
happen, but
Well, I mean, like,
they're rumored to the Big Ten
right.
eventually. So
I'm just saying. Like,
I'm buying into those rumors currently.
We'll see, but
We'll see.
I just think like there's so much uncertainty for the other 11 and North Carolina State, even though they're dumb. Like you just don't know where you'll be in 10 years. Whereas like even Clemson and Florida State and North Carolina won't know where they will be in 10 years. They know they'll have somewhere to be in 10 years.
Yeah, you're right.
Should we break down why the Pac-12 fell, basically? Because those numbers came out, and they're pretty juicy.
Yeah.
So, for those of y'all who don't know,
Real stupid.
the Pac-12 was basically offered $30 million per year in the fall of 2022, and the Pac-12 countered with $50 million. Let me put it this way. $30 million per school. So each school gets $30 million per TV rights deal. That's what ESPN offered to them.
And that's knowing that there's no USC, UCLA.
Right. They offered $30 million.
That's a good deal when USC, which is your biggest draw, and also UCLA, which is a brand, are gone.
Right.
That's on the same level as the Big 12. It's like about $1 million less.
Yeah. They, according to reports, basically, Kalinov, how do you say the Pac-12 commissioner's name? Kleinov, I don't know.
Kleivov, I believe.
Anyway,
Kleivov.
He incentivized the presidents to reject that deal and get a better deal, basically, and then submitted a counter offer of $50 million. And I think this is a strategy of like, you're at 30, we're at 50, let's get to 40. I think that was the idea, basically.
Yeah.
And ESPN basically said, that's way too far. We're not even going to offer another offer, basically.
They told him to pound sand.
Yeah, basically. And after that happened, Apple comes in with a new deal. And basically I don't know if you know this, but Apple has the deal with the MLS currently.
Yes.
And so Apple basically offered a deal structured very similarly to the way that the MLS is. So the way Apple TV works is that basically you have the access to Apple TV if you have an iPhone, right? That's automatic given. Then what you have is you have things that you can buy within the Apple TV. Like Ted Lasso's free if you have it and all that stuff. But then if you want to watch the MLS, there is a season's pass that you have to pay for to get access to watch any and all MLS games. It's kind of great if you like soccer. I personally like the format for it because you pay X number of dollars. You have access to. There could be 10 games on that night. You could watch all 10 games if you wanted to. You know, I honestly like it a lot.
Makes sense.
Right. And so they structured the deal very similarly to the way the MLS was, to where the MLS gets paid more per subscriptions to that pass, basically. The money will go up. So here's the way it worked for that deal. The Apple deal was 5 years, $23 million to school. So we're already $7 million less than what the ESPN offered.
Mm-hmm.
It could be raised to 25 depending on subscribers' deals. As I said, very similar to the MLS deal. Once reached to 1.7 million subscribers, the preschool rate would match the Big 12 average of 31.7 million. Now, I think 1.7 is attainable.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get, I feel like.
You could get 1.7 million and get to that 31. And they would start receiving 2025. And then if they got to 5 million, each school would get the 50 million that they were seeking. And I don't think that's possible. I don't see 5 million subscribers for the Pac-12, especially in the current situation with no USC, no CU, UCLA, now no Oregon, now no Washington. But for this year, it could have been possible, and that deal would have been close to Big Ten and SEC school monies, and it would have been bigger than the ACC and the Big 12. What came out is that the big killer for this deal is the fact that Apple TV is streaming only. Like, you have to have a smart TV to do it. You can't just turn on
Yeah.
CBS and watch SEC football.
I mean, and that's like inherently the flaw with the
subscription base.
Yeah. Like,
when you have to pay to watch, it's going to get less eyeballs.
You're just increasing the hoops you have to jump through. Also, I don't know how, like, are people getting, like, tired of subscriptions?
Yes.
Like, how many of these people, like, are not going to, you might be a huge Oregon State fan. You really want to pay, like, I don't even know how much it would be. Do you know how much Apple is? Or
I would say it's the standard now is anywhere from $7.99 to $15.
Yeah, let's say it's $12. Right. You want to pay $12 a month just to watch Oregon State baseball?
Well, not just baseball.
Yeah, I know, but
if I was like a supporter of a school and I got access to everything, and if I'm being honest, the main sports that I watched for collegiate level would be both basketballs and football. That's about it.
Yeah.
But it's streaming is the way of the future. Unfortunately, cable is dying, and we'll see where it goes. Now, I don't think cable will ever be completely dead. Let me put that out there.
No.
Like, I'm talking like I don't think like you're.
Well, yeah, there's no growth there, but it's always gonna.
I don't see like NBC, ABC,
news is gonna be live,
CBS, or like
yeah,
any of those folding. But I'm talking like like your
True TV,
your True Discovery, like, but those are bigger ones, like stuff like that. But that's besides the point.
Yeah, I just I can't believe they got $30 million without USC and without UCLA.
And they turned it down.
Like, that was the best. That would have kept the conference alive.
They got greedy.
And I don't know. It's not. There's not really much to say. It's like it's dead. It's greed.
Yeah. And speaking of all that, do you want to talk about what some basketball coaches have said about the conference realignment?
Yeah, our good old boy Ricky P.
Yeah, shout out Rick Pitino.
Rick Pitino, one of the greatest coaches in college basketball history, in my opinion.
A little biased, but yeah.
Oh, he's fantastic, but I don't think it's biased, but
he
it's fine.
basically had a quote that came out and said, "Doesn't it make more sense for football to break away to separate leagues and allow the rest of the schools to compete regionally? Rivals remain in minor sports, don't spend half their day looking for bad food at airport restaurants." Now,
yeah, makes sense.
The first half of that quote made a lot of sense. The back half of that quote, I'm like, where are you going with this?
Well, he's saying, like, if you're Rutgers flying to UCLA, you're going to spend a ton of time at an airport.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
And in here.
Yeah.
And then San Diego State's men's basketball coach agreed, basically saying, I think that sports should be played regionally.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
it makes
like there was like these 5 power conferences that like existed that were based regionally for the most part. It's almost like there was a system for that kind of worked.
Yeah. And money and greed is I think in this regard it's making college sports worse.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Do you think this is just a byproduct of having to pay student athletes now to get them to come to your school?
No. I think this would have happened regardless.
Really?
Yes, I do.
I gotcha.
But I don't know. It makes a ton of sense because football like drives the ship. That's where most of the money is made
football
in an
funds
athletic.
The ship, basically.
Yeah, that's where almost all the money in an athletic program comes from. There's very few circumstances where you can have like a Duke, Kentucky, Louisville basketball that's going to generate a ton of money there. A UConn women's basketball that's going to generate a ton of money. Baseball programs that generate money. That's more rare than football. You can be a middling team. You know, you can be bouncing back and forth between having like 5-7 and 7-5 years. You're still making money. You know?
Right.
So if you're making money in football, it makes a whole lot more sense to go and fly out, especially the way football is formatted where you only play one game a week. It makes more sense to have someone fly from New Jersey to California to play a game, it doesn't make as much sense to have someone fly out from New Jersey to California for a like a volleyball game.
Right.
And also the school, those programs don't make as much money. They're the non-revenue sports, and so there would be less strain on athletic programs, which, like with Stanford and Cal, not really sure where they're going to go, how much money they're going to get annually from being in conferences. They are now faced with the challenge of, like, do we have to cut some sports? Or are we going to have to, like, axe some of them? Because they don't know what they're going to be able to do.
Do you actually think that's going to be a possibility? You mentioned this last week.
Yes, I do.
I believe it when I see it. I just don't know. You know?
UCLA almost had to cut sports entirely. Their athletic department made such little money before jumping to the Big Ten. They almost had to axe the entire athletic department and just get rid of sports completely. It's if UCLA had to almost do that, there's definitely a world where Stanford has to cut a few sports.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I just think that it's going to save money. It's going to be more economical. It's going to
I don't know. There's so
be
much money
simpler.
To be made, though, through
But
college sports.
Do college football, do college basketball. If you just separate the two, it makes it easier. It streamlines it. I agree completely with what they've said. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
You want to talk Michael Oher, Big Mike, or you want to talk Jim Harbaugh?
What about Iowa?
You want to talk about that? We could also talk about Barbenheimer. I did Barbenheimer.
Did you do Barbenheimer?
I did.
I haven't done Barbie yet. I've done Oppenheimer.
We were going to watch them both in one day.
Right.
But then Oppenheimer was 3 hours. And the only screenings were at like 7 and 9. And I was like, eh. And the one at 7, there was like no seats. So we're like, okay, we'll see it tomorrow.
Thoroughly enjoyed Oppenheimer.
Oh, I thought they were both fantastic.
Really?
I like Oppenheimer a little bit more.
Are you Knuff?
I am Knuff. Yeah. I am Knuff. Barbie is very funny. It's a very funny movie.
I haven't seen it yet, but all I know is that when I go into it, all I need to know, and this is the jokes I've seen online, where it's like the girlfriend takes the boyfriend to go see Barbie, right? And the boyfriend, like, jokingly doesn't get the point of the film, right? And he goes, so what'd you think of the movie? And the first thing he says is, I want a Masa Casa Doja house.
That is a joke in the movie, yeah.
So, I haven't seen it, but all I know is, like,
let me tell you, it's very funny. It's an extremely funny movie. There are some jokes that, like, I don't think I'm spoiling anything here. There's a lot of meta jokes in the movie.
Oh.
Personally, I'm not a huge fan of meta jokes. I think they're fine in small doses. They do a little bit too much. It is an absurdist comedy, you know.
I guess it, yeah.
It's supposed to be ridiculous.
Right.
It was a little bit too much for my liking. But other than that, it's very funny. The horses are hilarious. You don't know what that means yet. But
don't.
Boy, when you see the horses, oh, they're so good. Oppenheimer, also great.
It's a great film. I really liked Oppenheimer.
I think I just had fewer issues with Oppenheimer than I did with Barbie. And once again, I'm not red pilled here. Those are not my issues with Barbie.
We're not even gonna go there.
I'm just saying.
This is a sports.
It's like jokes. The jokes were my issues. There were just a couple jokes that I didn't think were hilarious.
Oh no,
they're both great movies.
You hang out with me weekly, and my jokes never hit with you. So I'm just.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Go see them. They're great movies. Get them both to $1 billion. You know, I mean, Barbie's already there.
I would say, like, you don't have to go see Barbie. Barbie's already there.
Well, no, I would still recommend it. It's very good. It's a very good movie. It's very funny.
All right.
Let's talk about Jim Harbaugh.
All right, let's talk about him.
Yeah, this negotiated resolution as it's referred to by the NCAA, where he was supposed they worked out a deal where he was going to be suspended for the first 4 games for all the level 1 violations that he had.
That liar.
Yeah, that guy. He too told them to pound sand.
He hot steaming bag of shit is what the NCAA thinks of him.
Yeah, they rejected the
4-game suspension.
the settlement, and
I didn't know that you could reach a settlement and then find out it gets rejected. Didn't know that's how that works.
yeah,
Honestly, none of this makes sense to me. Was this like just like in-house? Like Michigan's like, okay, we're gonna suspend him 4 games because he told you a lie about some cheeseburgers,
no, there's a committee of infractions.
and the committee was like, no.
Well, no, they negotiated with the committee of infractions.
And then
That's who negotiated,
So how's
is
it
Michigan
rejected?
and the committee of infractions. And then they came to the settlement, and then the NCAA as a whole rejected the settlement.
So what's the point of them meeting in the first place to come to the settlement? If the
And-
NCAA is just gonna be like, yeah.
Here's what
You don't want
what
that.
you're saying makes too much sense.
Well, what's the point of wasting everybody's time just to go, you know what you guys met together and figured out together through arbitration and all this hoopla and major argument statement, we're just going to go, you know what, at the end of all that, no.
Once again, you're making too
No.
much sense.
It's not about making too much
No, the
sense.
NCAA is full of morons. The NCAA is full of people who dropped out of middle school. They're so dumb. They're so unbelievably dumb. And so the NCAA also released a statement basically saying what we said, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I don't remember when we talked about this.
We talked about this too much is what we talked about it.
Basically, this is all about he gave a couple of kids cheeseburgers and paid for it. He texted kids when he shouldn't have.
According to the NCAA, he hasn't paid for it yet because he deserves to be punished.
He texted some recruits during an unsanctioned recruiting period. Had coaches watching people work out over Zoom, and then had analyst acting as in a coaching capacity. The worst of these violations, in my opinion, is the texting during
Dead period.
dead period. That's even not that bad, though. Just fine the school. Just fine Harbaugh. I don't care. What this is, and then they released a statement. What I was saying is, they released a statement saying, this isn't about buying cheeseburgers. This is about what's right and wrong. And it's like, that's BS. That's BS. And that's what Harbaugh's attorney said. Because apparently, if you're under investigation, but the NCAA's rules, if you're under investigation, you're not allowed to talk about it. Apparently, the NCAA can talk about all they want, which is just more inconsistencies, more nonsense. And I think what this is all about, I said it before, they're just trying to make an example of Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, those
They're just trying to make an example.
Those double bacon egg baconators crossed the line. Were they good burgers? That was the real question. Was it worth it? Are these burgers like?
It's
really
a pretty
good?
popular
joint.
Yeah,
Is it
like
a go-to.
it's like a
spot?
dive bar in Michigan. Yeah, the burgers were named after Jim Harbaugh.
Oh. He's like, you gotta try me.
Don't I taste delicious? Don't I just melt in your mouth?
And that's what you.
This is the whole thing. This is just the NCAA doing what they have done to so many people before that just didn't deserve it. Michigan and Jim Harbaugh does not deserve a suspension. It does not deserve media coverage other than, oh, they got a fine. All right, let's move on. That's it. That's all this should be. And the NCAA is like, no, we still have power. Look at our hammer. Look at our sickle. They're not communist.
Sickle, huh?
I don't know why I call them communist.
You got a sickle. No, we're saying it now. The NCAA are communists.
Yes. That's why they're a nonprofit, because they're communists. This just makes me very mad. You got anything else to add?
I didn't know that you're like John Harbaugh's right hand man through all this. You're trying to take care of the man. You're like, what they're doing to him is wrong.
It is.
Stop.
It is. They're just trying to make an example of him, and they're trying to like drag this out so that like it's sounding like he's not going to get suspended for any games this year.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's probably going to coach the whole year. That means the suspension's coming next season.
Yeah.
And next season, it's probably going to be 5 games, 6 games. You know, it's probably going to delve into, like, games that matter instead of just UNLV and Rutgers.
It would be funny if they just added, like, 2 quarters, so, like, you're suspended 4.5 games. He comes out at halftime, just runs through the tunnel. Like, I'm back, baby.
Just surfs down the big house.
Goes out to the halfway line, goes onto the M, eats 2 cheeseburgers, and then goes to the sideline.
If I were
like beers.
I would if I were Harbaugh, I would if I were Harbaugh, I would only be caught eating cheeseburgers in public for the next 2 years. His health is going to plummet.
Dude, it's crazy. I literally just saw a photo of him recently but at like a press conference. I didn't realize he doesn't have gray hair anymore. He's like white hair now. It's like,
does he really?
Oh my gosh, yeah. He's like it is Jim or John?
Jim.
The only reason why I know that is because I literally saw take off the damn hat.
See, that's why I didn't know, because he's always wearing a hat. You never see him without the hat.
No, you
just look up Media Day. Almost got my foot in the camera.
Bro, look at this man.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize.
By the way, if you want feet pics, go see my cameo.
Bro, stop while you're ahead.
There's clearly not that much to talk about today. I'm talking about Barbenheimer and
I mean, like,
and
there's the whole Michael Oher situation.
Yeah.
That we know nothing about because it literally just dropped right before we were starting recording.
So
basically.
I looked into it a little bit. I want to just say before I start, I've had a theory for a long time that the Touhys probably suck. My theory has stemmed from the fact that they're Ole Miss fans.
Oh.
But this is confirmation. I just want to say that.
Is it basically in some short that they didn't adopt Michael Oher?
So,
like, what is he suing them for exactly?
He's alleging that he was never actually officially adopted. They kind of just coerced him into signing into a conservatorship.
Yeah.
And so that way they controlled business dealings. And so they were able to sell the rights to The Blind Side. They were able to profit from The Blind Side. He did not get any money.
Yo, what?
Mm-hmm. And so now he is suing them to probably end the conservatorship. I didn't see that, but I would imagine he wants to do that. And also he wants to get the money he's owed from The Blind Side.
Understood.
Yeah. The Touhys suck.
Now, all the information hasn't come out yet, but when your adopted son or alleged adopted son is suing you, it's not a good look. Anything else that we need to cover that we haven't?
No, I think we
Iowa State gambling.
Oh yeah, we didn't cover that.
Yeah.
Look at that. We're very unorganized today.
How about that? Yep.
What are you gonna do?
I'll let you cover it. You know more about this than I do.
Yeah. Well, so initially there was a report done by a local newspaper in Iowa that said 7 players between Iowa State and Iowa were gambling on sporting events, which is not allowed. But it wasn't just that they were breaking NCAA rules. They were committing crimes and betting on games that they shouldn't. It was originally 4 Iowa State players, 3 Iowa players. One of them, the most notable and most blatant being Iowa State's quarterback, Hunter Deckers. There's a video of him,
At a bar.
Yeah.
Well, that's like...
Be like, I'll bet right now.
That was like the...
Don't post this. It's illegal. And so...
$500.
Recently, 7 more players have been linked to criminal gambling on games, which they're all misdemeanors, by the way, but it's still crimes. And it's 4 more Iowa State players, 3 Iowa players. The worst case is probably Jarrell Brock, who placed 1,327 bets for a total of $12,050.
And just so we're clear, Decker's was just under 3,000. He was like 2,800, I want to say.
I mean, it was a lot of money. It was an absurd amount of money
It wasn't 12
for someone who doesn't gamble.
Right.
It was a lot of money.
It was about, I think it was $2,799. So to go four times that.
Yeah, this is 5 figures that he's gambling,
Yeah.
and 2 of those games that he gambled on were the game against Northwestern and the bowl game against Kentucky last year.
Where he played in, right?
Both games he played in, both games he took the under on points.
And he's a running back.
Yes, he's for Iowa. Iowa State?
Yeah, Iowa State.
Did they play Kentucky? I'm pretty sure that was Iowa.
Not the one who wrote this.
I know. I'm confusing myself.
I let you take the reins on this one.
You did, and that was a mistake.
Oh.
Look, this is confirmation now that people people in these programs have been betting against their own team. And on top of that, more news broke today that a defensive lineman for Iowa, his name is Isaiah Lee, Iowa State, that is. A defensive lineman for Iowa State has now left the school, left the program, because he's also being charged with this stuff. He's being charged with like evidence tampering. He bet against Iowa State as well. And it was a game that he played in, and it was a game that he only had 1 tackle in. I'm not going to outright say he's throwing games. I don't know. It's hard to rack up stats as a defender sometimes, so I'm not going to blame him for that tackle, potentially.
It made me think like, oh, this guy rarely plays, like he only got 1 tackle.
It does.
But then it also could be like,
maybe he wasn't trying that hard.
And then he only got 1 tackle.
Yeah. I don't. This just.
Do you think there's a connection since both schools are in Iowa and pretty close to each other? Do you think that there's any connection? Because like, what are the odds that both schools at the same time with the same issues? You know?
Well, gambling is legal in Iowa,
right?
So that's part of it. It's that there's an opportunity to do it, but I don't know. I think it kind of goes to oversight of the programs. It's like you got to like clamp down on this. Like Kirk Ferentz did say that gambling is a no-go for him. Like that's disqualifying you from the team.
They also criticize the predatoriness of gambling sites,
which is very correct.
I think that's a fair thing, but also it's like you also just gotta know. Like it's the unfortunate part of, and I think it's a learning process where if I mean, like I've gambled. You gotta realize that, like, hey, you gotta know when to stop, and like that can be a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like gambling addiction is an actual disease.
Oh, the dopamine you get from it is ridiculous.
I bet.
Yeah. But he was basically criticizing the NCAA gambling regulations with how spreads are readily shown across ESPN and all these other things for these games, and any site you go to, it's actively seen. Gamblings and parlays, and you can basically just like when you see the game, right? You want to know how. I do it all the time. Where if I want to know what game to watch before, I will look at the spread to get an idea of how close the game will be, because usually 9 times out of 10, Vegas is pretty good with their spreads.
Yeah, they're surprisingly good.
They're extremely good, and they pay people a lot of money to get those spreads. And so, like, I look at it and I'm like, all right, this is a 1.5 point spread. I'm going to turn on that game compared to the 17.5 spread, because odds are that game is going to be a lot better to watch.
Yeah.
And he's criticizing it from the perspective of, like, who's to stop an 8-year-old from going, what's that -7 next to Iowa versus Iowa State? What does that mean? And then as you grow up, you learn, well, that's gambling. And you learn about it and go from there. And also, he was also talking about the predatory practice of gambling sites in the sense of that the sign up now and the first $100 is free.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how they get you.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything that Kirk Ferentz said is correct.
Right.
Everything that you said is
But I don't think the NCAA has
spot
any
on.
power to change anything.
No, they don't. That's between like
That's TV.
broadcast companies, yeah, and the
Gambling sites.
and also like state legislators as far as
Trying to change
how
anything
you
about
can
that, right.
advertise in the state. You can't. I think you can't technically advertise to children as far as gambling. You can't advertise gambling to children. You can't target it. You can't target any ads towards children. But there's ways around it, you know?
Mhm.
It's like you can't it's illegal to target ads towards children, but there's ads for toys, you know?
Right.
It's like we know who those are for. There needs to be like tighter restrictions on how you can advertise gambling. If you're a school that has an athletic program, which is most of them, you need to have. I think they already have like required like financial literacy classes because of NIL. You need to also start implementing like I wouldn't say gambling like prevention, but just like like a class that gives people an understanding of this is what gambling is. It's not. It's gambling.
Right.
It's chance. You know, you're not.
Oh, yeah.
You can't. There's not a science to this, and also it's easy to get addicted. You know, it's dangerous potentially, and so I think the blame. There's a blame pie. I don't think one person gets all the blame, but there's definitely some pieces of the pie that can be divvied out.
Yeah.
I think that's it. You ready to do ACC predictions?
Might as well.
Yep.
Bear with me because I already hate mine and I filled mine out.
Yeah, we're going to do some good old ACC predictions. We're going to predict the season just like we've been doing for all the power conferences, including the Pac-12.
It's still a power conference at the moment.
Well, this year, sure. But so the preseason predictions, the official media preseason predictions goes as follows. Number 1 is Clemson. Number 2, Florida State. Then UNC. Then NC State. Then Miami. Duke and Pitt are tied for 6th. Then it's Louisville at 8. Wake Forest, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Boston College, and Virginia at the bottom at 14. And then as far as first place votes, Clemson's getting like 103. There's a drop off from them and Florida State. They're getting 67, and then it's UNC gets 5, NC State gets 1. So really everyone thinks Clemson and Florida State are the only two to really keep an eye on as far as who's going to win the conference.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are picking Clemson. Immediate reactions for that. I think Miami's pretty high.
Yeah.
And I think Louisville's pretty low. Louisville's picked 8th.
I don't have them too far from there.
I just think...
Now, I would love us to be better than 8, but I'm not too far off from where...
It's just that, like, a lot of national writers, like not Louisville people, a lot of national writers are pretty high on Louisville. Louisville today got... If you're going to the top 25, Louisville today got 10 votes. And if you count out all the votes, that puts them at around, like, 36, if you're extrapolating from there. I know they got 0 votes in the coaches poll, but in response to that, there was one person who does vote on the AP poll. He had said explicitly that he has Louisville 16th in his poll.
Wow. Oh, yeah. I've
So
seen multiple ones
there's
where it's like Louisville's ranked top 20.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are fairly high on Louisville. And if you're going from votes for the top 25, Louisville is I believe,
all right,
5th team in the ACC.
Right. So
behind Pitt.
Here's what I want to do with this. I want to change it up a little bit.
Okay.
I want one of us to go through one of our lists, and the other person has a reaction to it, basically. And then
That's
we go
a good idea.
So, do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
I'll go first. I think we'll save the best for last because you don't like yours.
Oh,
I'm looking forward to it.
I mean, yeah.
All right. I will give you
Like your rankings 1 to 14. Do you
Yep.
have that?
I do.
Let's do that. So, at the top, winning it all.
I've got winning it all. Florida State.
Florida
State beating Clemson in the ACC championship. I got Florida State undefeated as well.
Undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
12-0 or 8-0?
12-0.
12-0.
Mm-hmm. I got them beating LSU.
LSU week 1. There you go.
It's a toss-up, but I got them beating LSU.
Gotcha.
So Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, Louisville. I got them 4.
All right.
Followed by Duke, Pitt, NC State, Miami, Syracuse, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, Virginia, Boston College.
Where'd you have Duke?
I had Duke at number 5.
Run me through Duke's schedule and who you got. Because I did not get that.
Duke has Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard.
A lot of NFL scouts are apparently pretty favorable on him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I didn't watch a ton of Duke last year. They have Clemson, week 1. That's a loss. Then they've got Lafayette, Northwestern, UConn. I've got all those wins. And then they've got Notre Dame. That's another loss.
Okay.
Then they got a bye week. Then they got NC State off the bye. I've got that as a win. Then they got Florida State, Louisville. I got both of those as losses because they're both road games.
Okay.
And then Wake Forest, UNC, Virginia, Pitt. I got them winning out.
Okay.
That's
So
8-4 is
8-4.
that the total wins.
Gotcha.
5-3 conference.
All right. I do not have that. Cool. All right. So that was the one that stood out to me. So run me through your top list again. Go a little bit slower for me.
Got it.
I'm not that smart.
It's fine. It's fine.
You already got your Big Ten. Wow, this man's way ahead. I just saw a glimpse of his Big Ten.
I had free time.
I know, right?
I got Florida State beating Clemson.
Gotcha. Clemson's 2.
Yep. And then I've got North Carolina.
Okay.
Louisville. Duke. Pitt. NC State. Miami. Syracuse. Wake Forest. Georgia Tech. Virginia, and Boston College.
Okay.
I think
We have
Boston
a
College
lot
is
of
going to suck.
similarities, and then we probably have like 2 or 3 that are vastly different. One of them, I think you can already tell which one it is.
It's Duke.
And then the other one we'll save because I want to see your reaction. But yeah, I think it's a solid list. I don't know. Like some of them, I felt like had like easier schedules than others, and I'll run through that and give my explanation here. But like, as far as I'm concerned, so I'll do mine. So I have Florida State going 11-1, 8-0 in conference.
Mm-hmm.
I'm losing to LSU week 1. Clemson 7-1 in conference. Because of their schedule, I have NC State 7-1. I then have North Carolina 6-2, Pitt 6-2, Louisville 6-2. So realistically, I have Louisville anywhere from 4th to 6th.
Yeah, they've all got the same record.
They got the same record. Plus, Louisville lost to Pitt, and they have them losing to NC State. But I have Miami 7 at 3-5, Syracuse at 8 at 3-5, Wake Forest at 2-6 at 9, 10 is Duke at 2-6, 11 is Virginia Tech at 2-6, Boston College 1-7, Georgia Tech 1-7, and then Virginia 0-8.
All right.
Yep.
That's interesting. Who you got between Clemson and Florida State in the championship game?
I don't see why Florida State can't beat them twice.
Yeah. Normally, when teams do rematch in college football,
win a second time.
no, it's actually most of the time teams that won the first game win the second game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's interesting in college football.
Or is it the saying it's hard to win in basketball 3 times against?
It's hard to win in basketball 3 times.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like the NC State one just really stuck out to me. I only have them losing to Notre Dame and Clemson and going 10-2.
Okay.
I could see them losing to North Carolina and like Wake But like, I don't think Miami's that great. I think we'll give them a good fight in Louisville, but I just think they're a better team right now.
Okay, so the thing is, NC State, they always seem to hover anywhere from 7-5 to 9-3. They never do worse than 75. They never do better than 9-3.
I have them at 10-2.
I know, but they're always in that range.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I don't think, I think their ceiling is 10-2, and I'm going with their ceiling. But I also think their floor, looking at it, it's North Carolina, Miami, Wake, and maybe us give them trouble.
You don't think?
I don't think Duke will.
You don't think Duke will beat them?
You really like Duke. I just don't see it. I have Duke at 5-7 and not going to a bowl. I have Duke losing to Clemson, Notre Dame, NC State, Florida State, Louisville, North Carolina, and Pittsburgh. Just think those programs are better. NC State, Pittsburgh, Louisville, all those teams right there, borderline top 25 teams, in my opinion. Outside of that, next would be Miami and Wake. The only reason why Syracuse is above Wake is because they have an easier schedule.
Yeah, I didn't think Syracuse is going to be that good.
No, I have Syracuse at 6-6 making a bowl game for the pure reason that they play Colgate, Western Michigan, Army, Virginia Tech, Boston College, and Georgia Tech. They play the bottom 3 teams.
Yeah.
In the conference.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think
they get a bowl game because they have a weaker strength of schedule.
They do have a really weak schedule. That's the thing about the ACC is it's been so top heavy for so long. There's been 2 good teams.
Not even that. It's really just been Clemson running it. If we're being honest, it's Clemson, and there's 3 or 4 teams that are
yeah, you're right. It's been at whatever any given time. It's been either Clemson or Florida State to run it. You know.
Basically, there was one year where we had a shot, but we blew it. You know. But
yeah. There's been years where Miami was either 11-1 or 10-1 with a game getting canceled due to a hurricane. I think they were 10-1 heading into the conference championship game with Clemson. But then Clemson just blew them out of the water.
Right.
So if you look back, it's always been whoever the best team is in the conference. For the most part, it's been whoever's been the best team in the conference playing whoever makes it out of the coastal, because it's been divisions for so long. Right. It's not divisions anymore. Now it's just who are the top 2 teams.
Yeah, because it was Louisville, Clemson, and Florida State all on one side,
and
then whoever won that basically won the conference.
Well, Louisville never won it, so it was between
Florida State
and Clemson.
It's the optimism in me.
Yeah. Well, Wake won it one time.
Yeah, they did. I remember that.
It was a down year, though, for
ACC
Clemson and Florida State. Yeah, it was. Pitt was good that year, though.
Yeah. Was it Kenny Pickett?
Kenny Pickett, and that was a great. He wasn't the first one to do that.
Really?
Michael Vick did that in a game.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Michael Vick was cooler looking.
I bet it was.
He kind of started to slide and then spun around. It turned it into a spin move.
Did Michael Vick score a touchdown off of it?
I don't think so.
Kenny Pickett did.
Yeah, I know.
And they made a rule saying you can't do that anymore.
It's a good rule.
It's a good rule. It's for player safety.
But I don't know. Depending on I don't think Syracuse is that good. I think if they had a tougher schedule, I think Dino Babers might get fired. Because he's been kind of middling for so long.
They'll make a bowl game.
That's the thing. I think they're going to make a bowl game, but
6-6, 3-5, and they're ranked 8th. Do I think they're the 8th best team in the league? No. Do I think they'll finish 8th?
Yeah, I think Georgia Tech's going to be better than them. I'm pretty high on Georgia Tech. I'm
not. 13th, 1-7.
Well, so Georgia Tech last year finished at 7-5. Well, not 7-5. They were 5-7 last year. You get a phone call, buddy? You didn't turn it off?
I did. I put it on Do Not Disturb.
Anyway. Georgia Tech last year finished 5-7 after firing their coach. I can't remember the guy's name. But their interim, after that bad start, ended up taking the team to 5-7.
Oh.
and he's now their coach. Again, they just hired him full time. Sure, they don't have Blake Sims this year. I think that's going to be a drop off for them because I think Blake Sims was a pretty good quarterback. But is it Blake Sims or Jeff Sims? I think it's Jeff Sims.
Phil Sims.
No, I think Blake Sims. I think Blake Sims played at Alabama.
Phil Sims is a commentator for the NFL.
I know.
Good quarterback.
Yeah. Was he the one that? He's from Louisville, right?
Phil Sims?
Yeah, I think he played at Trinity.
Really?
Yeah, look it up. I'm gonna look up Blake Sims because I'm pretty sure he played at Alabama. But I just think that Georgia Tech is gonna be probably like 5-7 again. I think that
Springfield, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he played at Trinity, not Trinifield. Yeah, Blake Sims is from Alabama.
Love Trinifield.
Jeff Sims was the guy who was the quarterback for Georgia Tech last year. He's going to be the quarterback at Nebraska this year. But I just think that I don't know. I think they're going to take a little bit of a step forward as far as the team goes with a step back at quarterback, and there's going to be a little bit of consistency. So they're probably not going to get off to that bad start that got their coach fired. Actually, no, I've got them starting 1-4. I take that back.
Yeah, that rough start. Yeah,
they do have a rough start.
SC State.
Yeah.
South Carolina?
Yes, South Carolina State.
Didn't know that was a school.
You can probably just string together words and it's a school. There's a school called Incarnate World. We talked about them last week.
Yeah.
That's a school.
Yeah.
It's a university. Anyway.
Oh, that.
Back to what we were talking about. I don't know. I think they're going to have a similar year as last year where they're going to beat some teams that maybe you wouldn't expect them to. Actually, no, I don't have them beating anyone. Maybe Syracuse. I'm going to beat them Syracuse. I am. I just think that they're not going to be as bad as people think.
You have a lot of things, and those thoughts are not that great.
I don't know. That's your opinion.
That was a little mean. Sorry.
That's one man's opinion.
I don't know. You're a walking contradiction right now. It seems
I am. I did these a while ago.
I think they're gonna figure it out. I think they're gonna be good. And you're like,
I never said good. I said 5-7.
They're gonna figure it out. They're gonna get better. And then you're like, oh, they don't make a bowl. I have them 3-9, 1-7. Boston College 4-8, 1-7.
I got Boston College 0-8. I think they're gonna suck. They're losing their quarterback and Zay Flowers.
You want to know what's funny?
What?
I have them losing their one win, Georgia Tech. Yeah. So Clemson 11-1, 7-1.
Do you think there's any possibility that Florida State and Clemson make the playoff?
No.
You don't think so?
It's not a good enough conference.
Well, let's just say that
there has to be the SEC basically has to implode on itself, or like the Big Ten.
Okay, well, let's say Florida State beats LSU and then loses to Clemson in the regular season. And Clemson's undefeated going into the conference game.
Okay.
Florida State's only losses to Clemson. Florida State then beats Clemson.
Okay.
You think they can make it? Both of them or no?
Depends on where everywhere else is. There would have to be a lot of circles of suck going on in other places for that to happen. A lot of mediocrity.
I could see it happening in the Pac-12. Not mediocrity. I think the Pac-12 is going to be good, but I could see them all just beating each other up.
Like Washington, Utah, Oregon,
USC. Yeah, even Oregon State, throw them in there.
Yeah. Borderline.
And then I don't think anyone's going to make it out of the Big 12. You've got Texas going undefeated.
Do I?
Yeah.
I'll be damned. Hook 'em horns, baby.
But
so, speaking of which, speaking of the hook 'em, so in the Big 12 right now, you cannot do the horns down. That is not allowed. It's a 15-yard penalty and all that stuff, right? When Texas joins the SEC during media day, the commissioner was asked about the horns down and if that will be a penalty, and he said no, as long as it's not directed at any other players. You can do horns down to celebrate with your team and stuff in the SEC. You just won't be able to do it to the opposing team. So you can't hurt Texas's feelings, but you can hurt their feelings.
You can hurt their fans' feelings.
You can hurt the 5-year-old sitting in the front row and horns down. That poor
Yeah, they've been spoiled for a long time. They have not had. I mean, have they had anyone come in there and just, horns down as they're all walking out of the the locker rooms? Probably not. If it was a penalty,
it's 60 yards right there.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You're gonna lose that privilege. Really good quarterback room.
Yeah, it seems like it. Quinn Ewers was really good before he got hurt, and then they had Hudson Card last year, who was pretty good in the interim.
He went to Purdue.
Yeah. And then they got Arch Manning.
He might be the third string. He may not be second.
Who else do they have? Like Hudson Card, yeah, he transferred. So I feel like, I don't know. This might be a year where he's the backup.
I know that.
You might want to try to preserve him, redshirt him, if you can.
I know that his family won't let him do any NIL deals until he's the starter. Yeah, Malik Murphy.
It's weird.
Redshirt freshman. Big dude. 6'5". Yeah, they have Arch listed as the third string right now.
All right.
True freshman.
Well, they're probably trying to redshirt him. Keep his eligibility.
Yeah, well, it would make sense. He's got 2 guys in front of him.
Yeah, but I don't know. Do you think anyone gets fired in the ACC? Any coaches? You think any coaches are going to get canned? Eh?
Who's already in a hot seat, though?
Maybe Jeff Hafley?
I don't know coaches like that, unfortunately. Whose coach is that?
Boston College. They went 3-9 last year.
4-8.
You've got Boston College 4-8.
Yeah.
I've got them 2-10.
NIU, Holy Cross, Georgia Tech, UConn.
I've got them beating Northern Illinois and Holy Cross. That is it.
You have them.
They might lose to Holy Cross. Holy Cross preseason poll is top 10 in FCS.
Since when has UConn ever had a team?
UConn went 6-6 last year.
Yeah.
UConn beat Boston College last year.
Right. He's turning the program around, turning the ship around.
Who is Hafley?
I don't know, man.
All right.
This team just, I don't know. Who's a team that's supposed to do something that we don't have doing something? Where's the hope?
I don't know. There's not much.
Yeah,
Louisville's the most hopeful in mine. Just because I like the transfers coming in. I'm a big fan of Braum.
Give Braum, baby. Brian Braum, OC.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that does it.
Yep.
For the most part.
Thanks for watching.
All right, we'll see you.